Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the December 30th, 2024 Board of Selectmen, Highway Commissioners, Cemetery Commissioners, last meeting of 2024. This meeting is being recorded. First order of business, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Give me 1 second. My computer did an update. See if I can- Shoot on my phone.
The police chief had something come up, Mr. Chairman, just so you're aware of it.
Okay. Police Chief Karlowitz will not be here tonight. First up, approval of minutes, December 16th, 2024. What is the board's pleasure?
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Landry, second Mr. Yanovich. Any questions, concerns, comments? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Number 2,
Citizen comments.
citizens' comments. Anybody wishing to speak tonight on an agenda, something that's not on the agenda and does not require a vote of the board? Hearing none. Give me 1 second, people. Oh, darn it. I almost cursed. Just having a problem with my agenda, but here I go. Slow tonight. I have the right one.
Yep.
Appointments. None?
Nope.
Nope.
We have none. Like to mention to people at home paying attention, we have multiple boards that are looking for people to step up and volunteer, up to and including 4 open seats on the FAA. If you'd like to be involved and see how your money is allocated in the town and how it is spent, please consider joining. Next up, license and permits. License to conduct a one-day game commonly called Beano, B-E-A-N-O, also known as Bingo. St. Anthony of Padua Church, February 23rd, 2025. Anybody here to present? Would you like to come up and introduce yourself? Yeah. Oh, at the table, whatever you're comfortable with. If you want to have a seat, you can sit. If you want to stand.
Hi, I'm Paula Chauvin from Dudley. I'm a member of St. Anthony of Padua, and I belong to the Ministry of Mother Ann Seton. It is a ministry within the parish, and basically we support fundraisers that we do for the church as well as for the indigent in the communities. So we decided to have something fun as well as a fundraiser in the winter months, and we'd like to do it for one day. It would be on a Sunday from 1:30 to about 4. Get everybody home before it gets dark. Hopefully, if it's icy or snowy, we would postpone it till the next week.
Is that a Saturday?
I'm sorry?
Is that a Saturday that date or a Sunday?
Sunday.
Sunday. Before I ask any questions or comments to the administrator or the assistant town administrator, there's not much on here about the time. She just gave us like a rough outline.
Mr. Chairman, so I've been speaking with Ms. Chauvin as well as a representative from the State Lottery Commission, and the local licensing authority would approve this one-day Beano permit, and then the paperwork goes to the state for their final review and approval. So we're almost a little middleman in sorts, but I have all her paperwork here, and she's got it appropriately filled out. You either check off 6 p.m. to 12 midnight, or you check off 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., and she checked off the latter, so.
Okay. So you're saying the permit is filled out properly?
Yes.
So we do the motion, we're gonna have to read in the time and, I'm gonna go to questions first, then we
Okay.
can pass that over. Any questions for the applicant?
No, sir.
No. Anything else you wanna say? You can give it a little plug, please
Nope.
come play.
We're good?
Okay. So I would need to see, if you wanna give us some bullet points for a motion, somebody will make it.
Yep, it would be from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., approving on February 23rd, 2025. I can pass this to you if you'd like to see it.
Wouldn't require any, we always ask like a police detail, or nothing like that, there's no public
Lottery
safety.
didn't inform me of anything like that, no.
Okay.
I believe the police chief has seen that, it doesn't require.
Okay.
And sorry, you said the snow date would be the following week, March 3rd, I believe?
Yes.
Yeah, because February's a short
Okay,
month.
so the
So
board-
maybe, Mr. Chairman, you just vote the contingency or ask, or the person who makes the motion can make that contingency and we'll make sure the paperwork's in order, just in case we don't have a meeting to approve on.
Right, I think it would probably be prudent to give her a conditional approval, and if there's no problem with the state, don't have to come back and revote it.
Yeah, with the contingency.
Are you good with that?
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to
Mr. Lambert.
approve the one-day
You know,
License?
Beano license game for bingo, St. Anthony of Padua Church for February 23rd, 2025, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., with a snow date of March 3rd, 25, at the same time period, 1 p. to 6 p.m.,
Contingent on
contingent on
state.
the state lottery.
Second. So I would just suggest, Mr. Chauvin, if you want, you come back in sometime around the first meeting in February if you want to tell the people it's coming up again. You get a little free publicity or send somebody else down. And
Okay.
don't let it linger. We'll give you some time to
Thank
sell
you.
it. Yep. Any other questions or concerns for the applicant? Anybody in the public? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Happy holiday.
You too,
Thank
good
you.
luck. Happy New Year. Public business. This is one that people have been looking forward to for quite some time, and Mr. Ruda, public update on municipal aggregate energy with Colonial Power Group.
Mr. Chairman, I think I've mentioned before in my TA report that we've made some good progress. Remember, we were stuck in the mud for a while with our pending application with DPU. Some of the rules changed during the application period, and not only us, but other municipalities got stuck. I think we've made some headway, and our representatives from Colonial Power are here to kind of give a public update and answer any questions that people may have, including the board.
Okay, so if you folks just want to take a moment to introduce yourself, I don't know if you go left or right, or however it works.
Denise Allard from Colonial Power Group.
Mark Capadona, Colonial Power Group.
Joseph Capadona, Colonial Power Group.
Nice to meet you, folks.
Nice to meet you.
Been a long time coming. We're glad we're at this final hurdle.
Yes.
So tonight we're here to talk to you about the aggregation program, and there's some very good news. So back on, I just want to make sure I get the right date, October 22nd, the Department of Public Utilities issued an approval order to the town of Dudley. So what does that approval order mean? What are we talking about from an aggregation standpoint? That means the town can now go out and procure energy on behalf of its basic service customers. This program, I want to get this hot button item right out in the front. It's an opt-out municipal aggregation, meaning everyone's going to have a choice. The town is going to bring a choice that did not exist in the marketplace before. If you're on basic service, if you're a National Grid basic service customer, you're going to have a choice put in front of you. But if you don't do anything, you're going to be moved to the town's program. What happens if you don't do anything and you didn't want to participate? The following month, you opt out, no fees, no penalties, not a problem. We're not trying to hold anyone in this. This is a town program. It's about choice. Let's say that you decided to opt out of the program. 2 months later, I never should have opted out of the program. Things are going fine. The lights didn't go out. You can opt back in the program. There's no fee, there's no penalty. That is for people on basic service. There's no fees or penalties to go back and forth. But if you happen to be on third-party supply, if you signed one of those contracts with a Constellation Direct Energy, you absolutely can join this program, and literally with the order that we just received, we have the ability to do some things that we haven't as of late, and we're going to mail a postcard and let everyone know this is a town program, and you can join it if you wish. On that third-party supply, we want you to talk to the supplier, and it's right on your bill that there's a 1-800 number. It's required by law. National Grid has that number on there, so that in case you have a fee in your program for Constellation or Direct, you may have a fee or penalty to leave that program to come to the town program. So we just want you to make sure that if you wanted to join the program, you check with your supplier first so that there isn't a fee or penalty. So next step. So lots of things have already happened. Went to town meetings, select board approved the plan. We got the order. What we're here tonight is to get some pricing so that the town can look at prices, see how the market's reacting compared to basic service. So they've changed basic service in National Grid. They've changed just the procurement period. So it used to be May and November. It's now August and February. Why did they do that? To smooth out. Everyone in this room remembers 33 cents a kilowatt hour. That wouldn't happen again. That was because all the winter months were in one time. They've now kind of smoothed things out for you. And in doing so, they've basically lowered the winter and increased the summer. So the summer price, starting in February, you're going to be paying $14.6 for a National Grid. What we're going to do is go out and see where the market is and see where that pricing will come in compared to the towns. And what we're asking here is to allow the town administrator to move forward with pricing. There's plenty of choices. They could have some green. I think at least from the conversations that we've had, pricing is number one. So we're probably going to have the low cost is where everyone would go, but they may want to choose something that might be a little greener, still probably under the basic service costs, and allow people to have a choice. And that's what we're here. And to answer anyone's questions tonight about the program, I should state, only because it's been so long, this is your National Grid electricity bill, and it's on the supply portion of your bill only.
And I also just want to add, it's important to note that any discount you already get through your utility, so low income discount, budget billing, farm discount, anything you have like that, access to the Mass Save program, that all remains intact. Those are all utility discount programs or benefits, and you will continue to receive those through National Grid. So nobody's losing any current benefits that way. It also works well with solar. If you have panels on your roof or you're part of a community solar program, so everybody can participate. You're not losing any net metering credits or anything like that. So those all remain intact. That's a utility benefit as well.
So to go back to what you said in the beginning, the potential for fees, in your experience, do a lot of those third parties have fees that people may not know about?
Unfortunately, yes. So it really depends where you are in the life cycle of that contract. So normally it starts to go away or weed away, if you will. So many of the contracts are, say, 18 to 24 months. As you get into the 24, originally maybe $150, and it steps down to maybe 100, maybe 50, so forth and so on. If people are having issues, there's lots of times we know what most of the buzzwords that we need to. So if the town decided to move forward with and again, it's always the town's decision whether you move forward with the contract or not, we would have information sessions, and if somebody wanted to have a conversation with us about getting out of a contract, we'd certainly help them get out of a contract. We've been fairly successful of always getting those fees removed.
Do you have like correct me if I'm misspeaking, do you have like a break-even point? Like in your mind, you need X number of customers to join for us, or it can be as smallest number possible to up to 100%?
But that's a great question. So I just want to make sure that everyone gets this, because this is important. There's no financial risk to the town here at all. The risk is all borne by the supplier, whoever that winning supplier is going to be. But all of that migration risk sits with them. So whether there was one customer or everyone in town, that price is going to stay for the term. That's the deal. So even if, let's just go through a quick scenario. Let's just say the price came in at 12 cents and it was 14 for the basic service now. For whatever reason, kumbaya moment, and the world is at peace, and the price of basic service goes to 6 cents. Everyone opts out of the program. 6 months later, Mr. Putin decides to start dropping bombs all through Europe, and the price spikes the following 6 months. Everyone comes back into the program. There's no fee or penalty. They're required to hold that price.
All right, perfect. Anybody else have questions? Oh, you look like you were formulating.
Yeah, but
No, sir.
All right, nothing?
This is the same program, Mr. Chairman, that all the surrounding towns get involved with. It's just something that we were a year or two behind getting involved
Well,
with.
it took a year to
You know, and naturally, it was in process,
Right.
you know, in my office, and it went to town meeting and everything spiked right at the same time. So this is nothing that we've designed. This program is very standard and similar to what other, residents of other towns take advantage of on a
So,
regular basis.
I know the town is in a program already, right?
Yeah, that's a different
Separate.
thing. That's a
Because it's municipal.
program with Constellation where we lock in a price,
Okay.
for a certain period of time. But that's what
Exact same idea, though.
same idea.
Yeah, exact same idea.
Town could opt out, get
Yeah.
back in, out, move.
They could. They certainly would have the ability to, if they wanted to use that. The town could use the aggregation. Normally, you have a better load profile with the town. When you use energy, the amount of energy you would use, so you get a better price. So it's normally better to stay out on your own. Some towns do, the smaller towns may actually join their aggregation. Just one less task.
So the initial price, Mr. Chairman, is going to be the lowest Massachusetts pricing with several different state choices that people can modify for their own bill. In other words, if you're more, like they mentioned, if you're more into green energy, you can opt into the green energy, right?
Correct,
Green
absolutely.
energy offerings. Renewables. If you're only interested in pricing, you're going to be put into the lowest pricing currently available to begin with, which I thought would be a good starting point.
Oh, it is, that definitely is.
So, after a year and a half, we're in good shape. I think we're moving forward finally with the program.
So is this something we can, as this process is evolving still, can we link it to our website to somehow link to you folks? Or you have a presentation that maybe you already have pre-formatted that you send out to towns, so to people?
So the DPU requires that the town have some information on their website, and then you can link over to our website where we'll have a dedicated program page with all the FAQs and all the specifics. Folks can opt in and opt out there. They can always also call, but they can do it through the website. And that'll be kept up to all required DPU reporting requirements and putting information out there for everyone to have in line with what the DPU order was, so.
So I have an interesting question, and I'd rather run it by these folks first, and then you folks. It seems to me everybody would be interested, especially the elderly. Would it be possible, if there's interest, we talk to the COA director and maybe have some kind of presentation to our elderly?
Yes.
And that may even generate more coming in than just the regular people?
Absolutely. Once we do the mailing, we get that out, we would set something up to go to the senior center and talk to folks and tell them, because that's usually they're concerned about the electricity being shut off or not, folks not coming if there's a storm. So we want to make sure we walk through with them and answer anyone's questions. So we'll certainly look to do that if the town.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so part of the internal discussion has been when the mailer goes out, that's when it's on everybody's radar screen. And then we'll ask for another meeting or two or whatever's required to make sure everybody's comfortable with it.
Right, but I think maybe we target that audience,
Oh, definitely.
because they're gonna be the ones. I'm almost there, I'm almost a senior.
Almost.
Getting close, dude. So, any questions from anybody in the crowd, in the public? Not many people here, but, so what are we looking for in action tonight? Is this just an update to let us know where
It's
we're
a
at?
public update. Maybe we could get a more specific timeline as to how we think things
So what
will
we're
pan out.
hoping to do is get some executable pricing for the administrator to take a look at that he may be able to sign off for, like an April start. That's kind of where we're currently targeting. Sometime between now and we need to have an April start, we need to have something signed by, say, the end of February. So it'd allow him to take a look at some pricing, see what he thinks, sign off, and then we'd have a mailing that would go out sometime in February to March. We'd have those information sessions, everyone would be enrolled, for that late March, that April meter read. Then we'd have any of there's lots of this is utility grade data, so lots of rejections and problems that we'll work through so that everyone gets in the products that they choose, and then it will be up and running for that April meter read start.
All right, so we meet at least twice in February, so you want to put it on the radar for the 2nd February, or 1st
How are we
February?
going to be, when do we actually see the pricing? When's it?
So the middle of January, we're going to be looking at some pricing, and then we'd look to lock in by the end of January and get a mailer out in the middle of February if we were looking to hit that April start. So
Okay.
folks would probably have the mailer mid to late February. So if you want to schedule something for,
So you'll need my signature on behalf of the board at the end of January,
yeah, by,
Somewhere in that range, yes.
like after January 27th?
no.
Hopefully before, just in case the market was to move against us.
Will we know anything on January 13th?
Yeah, we meet in 2 weeks. Is that cutting it close?
So what would we be looking for on the 13th?
Pricing?
Information?
Well, we could move it up. We were thinking around the 15th, but we can, if you want to move it to the 13th, we can.
The 13th would be better so we can have a public discussion about it before it's.
The
That's
pricing?
our regular meeting, the 13th.
Okay, so And just to say, so the pricing would be, it would be indicative, it wouldn't be actionable because suppliers can't hold price. They have to set a hedge, so it's by like 2:30 in the afternoon, so we would get it in
It's
the,
not like a mortgage lock, you don't get it for
right,
45 days.
because the market's going to move. So
Unfortunately,
we could
yes.
get refresh pricing for the 13th, and then we would, they'd have to refresh the next day with a
If you got
signature,
the
but
okay.
it likely wouldn't move
Yeah.
much.
Not much.
Yeah, well, I mean, nothing's new is probably gonna happen until after the inauguration, I would think. That would be a price change at some.
Weather is the
I
other
think
big
one way
mover.
or the other, right?
If we got caught
Yeah.
in a, but we have time, that's what I'm saying, that hopefully markets would settle.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know how the board feels, I don't know if we want to.
It's similar, Mr. Chairman, to like
You want
what,
to see it again, right?
What do you think?
Oh, I suppose we can bring it up as a vote. Anybody want to make a motion to give?
well, the thing is, like they said, it could change a little bit, because it's literally like the Constellation energy that we buy for municipal buildings. It's like that afternoon, this is your price, could change tomorrow morning.
Right, but that's what I'm
So
saying.
it's gotta be within,
Do we want to give you the authority to sign on our behalf? If
I
they
think-
come in and the price looks good.
right, well, I think that's a good idea, but, with the understanding that it doesn't vary wildly one way or another.
Right. Yeah, if there's a fluctuation of 50% up, we're going to say, whoa,
Yeah, no, I would be
Which
talking
would
about
happen.
tenths of a penny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe a half a penny or something like that. That's a big move in the energy market.
So how about this one then? How about we give the administrator the authority through me? He'll call me and say, hey, I got the price. The board gave me the authority as long as you say it's okay. And we'll just run with it. You just want to let him run with it.
For the 13th or prior?
Well, if they could do,
We were talking about the 15th, but if you need us at the meeting at the 13th, we could move the pricing up to the 13th, and then we could refresh it on the 14th. We talked
we
about,
would vote the 13th, but it wouldn't count till the next day till you refresh it.
but you'd be able to see what it was live on the 13th.
All right, so why don't we just do that then? We'll just get some prices, give us some idea, like,
Sure.
and actually you can somehow email, we won't take an action, we can just read
Carrie's got a
it.
thing.
Just give us an idea what it looks like, and then we'll meet the 13th and
Yep, absolutely.
ready to
Sure.
roll.
I think Carrie wants to.
Gary?
So the 13th, we'd have a final number that we could vote on then?
No, refreshed on the 14th, she said, because we'd vote at night and have to refresh the
But it'll
next
be
day.
within tenths of.
Exactly.
It'll be,
I'm just thinking, I'm thinking on the 13th, if we do vote for that, I think we should put a cap on the percentage move that it would go against us, just so we don't have a
Right,
misunderstanding.
yeah.
Whether it's a part of the motion, or we say, hey, if it's more than 2% above,
So can we look at
just taking a number out of the sky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can we
no,
look
I
at
agree.
historical averages, like on your website or somewhere where the prices fluctuate? Is there any way for like the average person to link to your site or somewhere and just look at daily? Like you said, I know sometimes it's just
You,
percentage points.
so you wouldn't see the whole, so I could certainly show you wholesale prices, but that's not what you want to see. And you want to see a fully baked price, and I apologize for the opaqueness of energy prices, because the wholesale energy has energy and capacity in it, but it doesn't have the ancillaries, it doesn't have RPS in it, or renewable portfolio standard. So if we could say, like, I'm trying to gauge this just listening here. So if we said if it moved 3 mils or 4 mils, it's about, the Department of Public Utilities says use 600 kilowatts. So in that scenario, if it was to move 4 mils up or down, one or the other, we'd be looking at around $2.40 per month that would be off what was there the next day. That would be a rather large move. You know what I mean? So and when I'm saying that, just so that everyone understands, if the price came in at 12 cents, I guess we wouldn't put anything, I wouldn't put anything on the way down. If it moved down 2 cents, why wouldn't we sign it, right? Who cares on the down, but on the upside, it couldn't go more than 2.4 cents.
Okay, so something like that.
Something like that, because then it would be, be about $24 over the year.
Right, monthly in the compound.
In and thereabouts, just to give you an idea. But I don't expect to see that type of move. Now, watch the weather go crazy on me. I'm going to be standing here with my hat in my hand saying,
It's 54 today.
exactly.
So, and you were talking about the programs. So the other things that National Grid hit people with, like there's a couple pennies on your bill towards Mass Aid program, right? And there's other things, those will still be there.
Yeah, because that's all on the delivery side, on the distribution side, and that we don't have any say in that. So you're paying into that, whether or not you.
Just the Department of Public
Yeah.
Utilities,
Yeah.
How
unfortunately.
many times do they say no? All
Not enough.
right, so you want to just push it to the 13th? And any questions, get them to Mr. Reuter or to Olivia? get them to you folks, get some answers, and
Absolutely.
13th, we'll move.
Just want to make sure, just so we don't plan, did you want us here on the 13th?
Did
To
you want
discuss.
to be here on the 13th?
Well, I'm happy to be here. If you want us here, I'm happy to be here. I just don't know if there'll be more questions, but
There may be, because,
Because then I think we need to talk about term probably on the
Yeah.
13th too.
if you could. that'd be
Sure.
great.
We'll send it over midday and,
Yeah.
and then you
So
can
just-
circulate it and.
Just to put it out there, what are we generally looking at for a term? 2 years, 18 months?
yeah.
Because
So
someone's going to watch it at home and say, why didn't they ask that?
which is perfectly fine. So more likely than not, we're going to be looking at an 18 or a 30 month, just given the April start. And the big driver for everyone's pricing is going to be December, January, and February. The only reason I'm going to say 18 and 30 months is because we're going to mix in extra, what I'll call shoulder months, to drive down the price.
Okay.
So if you do an 18, that's 1 winter and 2 shoulders. If you do 30, you get 2 winters and 3 shoulders.
So you're just hedging your bet on a longer term that you're going to get more, peaks and valleys won't be so high, but the peak would probably get offset by a valley. Or it'd be close.
Correct.
Or it'd be
And-
close.
And because you've been through it, many of the communities are saying, your decision is your decision, but I have now put a cap on energy price, electricity prices in Dudley. Nobody has to, I'm making up the number right here, no one has to pay more than 12.4 over the next 30 months. If they choose to go somewhere else, that's fine, they can always come back, but 30 cents never has to happen in Dudley over the next 30 months.
Be locked in.
That price is locked in and anyone can take it whenever they'd like.
No matter how long the term is, they can opt in, opt out, opt in, opt out.
Only on the meter read, but that's exactly correct, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. So that's the way many people are looking, like, okay, whether people participate or not, the town, we're kind of agnostic to that. But nobody has to pay, that 33 cents doesn't happen in Dudley anymore.
Never. Unless someone doesn't opt in and they roll the dice with grid.
But they can still opt in after the
Still come
fact.
back.
Right, but I'm saying, like,
Right.
they see the 33 by the time they lock in, the next month it could be back down to 19.
It'll only change twice a year. Grid will only change again February and
Oh, with them,
not.
okay.
Yep, that's
right.
correct.
Yeah, okay, you did say that, I apologize.
No, that's no problem.
So we'll look to lock in on the 13th.
We'll have all the info to move forward on the 13th.
We'll push it out and publicize it and see what we can get. And
You know, as many meetings as we need to have.
and if you folks are, like I say, willing to meet with the seniors at some point?
Yep.
or-
100%. The seniors and
Always a good idea.
another meeting, information meeting. Once we get the mailing out there, there'll be a buzz, and that's
Right.
exactly when we plan on, whether we have 2 or 3, whatever the town decides we need to do, we're gonna do.
Right, awesome. All right, much appreciated. Anything else? Anybody in the
Good.
crowd? Crowd is silent.
Beautiful.
All right, thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
So much. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Hope you had a nice Christmas.
Great job.
Yes. Appreciate it.
It's been a long time coming. We're
A long time coming.
very
I agree.
appreciative of the work.
Thank you.
6B, approval of delayed opening and closure policy. Board of Select to vote to approve or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Ruda.
Mr. Chairman, this is a draft policy that was presented at the last Selectmen's meeting. It's been available to look at. I think everybody's pretty clear as to what it is. I haven't received any questions on it. Now we're asking to have it approved to be engrossed into our general policies. It's how we, in the policy we're asking you to vote on is how we handle the late openings, closures of town hall and library, and early,
Release.
yeah.
So as he said, everybody had a chance to look at it and did not vote any questions. Are there any questions now?
Any changes to the draft, Mr. Chairman?
Any changes to
No.
the draft? I did not see any. No.
Okay.
No. We have a couple department heads here. Is there any questions? You guys had a chance to review it? But I know it's a little different for you guys. Your early release isn't the same as everybody else. Non-existent for
What was the question?
copy from Sarah?
Do I have a copy from Sarah?
No, the question was,
Is there, I have
the
not.
question was from Sarah.
I can provide you with a copy.
Okay.
It would go into effect after the required amount of time for departments
Review.
to be familiar with it. That's part of the bylaw.
So we'll be voting to accept it tonight pending their reviews.
No, you vote, you make the
Vote
decision.
tonight, it's over.
Yeah, the board makes the decision, so.
I don't put you on the spot, Sarah. You okay if we vote for it tonight, or you want to take a chance to look at it?
I'm sure it's fine.
Okay.
I'll let you know if it's not.
We can always change it or come in with questions after, yeah.
I'm a department involved.
Yeah. I thought you had like a quarter of a help too or something. Any other questions or concerns concerning the policy to be voted on? Hearing none, Chair will entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Landry,
Second.
second by Mr. Shanes. Any further questions, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. And again, people, it's a flexible document. We can always look at it later if we have to. Town Administrator Report, Mr. Ruda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next Board of Selectmen meeting will be a joint session with the FAA to review the remaining costs associated with the mitigation order for the Eagle Drive neighborhood. Weston and Sampson are currently preparing a detailed cost analysis for the remainder of this fiscal year and projections for calendar year 2025. A special town meeting is scheduled for February 10th. This meeting is required because Article 8, which proposed borrowing funds for mitigation efforts at the October special town meeting, did not pass. At the February meeting, a new article will be presented to borrow the necessary funds. These funds will allow the town to meet its legal obligations under the DEP Immediate Response Action and the agreement with Gentex to share the costs of mitigation, including ongoing water testing, reporting, and related expenses. And will provide further updates following the Board of Selectmen's meeting. The next one is the renovation of the historic Stevens Mill. It remains a topic of significant interest, and residents are encouraged to attend the upcoming Dudley Board of Selectmen meeting on January 27th, where representatives from Stevens Mill LLC will provide an update. So if there are anybody with questions about the progress of the mill, what the future holds, where we stand to date, anything related to the mill, the actual developers will be here to answer those questions publicly. I think they're also doing a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce the same night, so there's two opportunities.
Wait, before you go on, you want to touch on the update we got from the work that was done? The groundwork? From Matt Vorshek?
Yep, so the infrastructure project is a grant, it's completely grant funded. It's to update the infrastructure under the road, which is the, water and mostly sewer tie-ins. It's also going to include sidewalks in the spring. That work is wrapped up for this year, and it's going to resume in the spring. And the benefit of a project like this is that we were able to serve all that entire neighborhood, give them the ability to have new laterals, put in new tie-ins so that they can tie into the sewer system as well. A lot of that infrastructure in that area has been crumbling for years. We haven't had the means to pay for it, but this Mass Work grant has given us the ability to update that and improve that infrastructure at no cost to the town.
All right. Sorry to interrupt the report. I just
No
wanted to-
problem.
Wanted to add that. Thank you.
And then the fiscal year, believe it or not, 2026 budget planning is going to be happening pretty soon. As part of preparations for fiscal year 2026 budget planning, the annual budget memo from my office on behalf of the Board of Selectmen will be sent out to all departments, boards, and committees at the end of January, and we do that every year, just to kind of give a timeline as to what the process is going to be and some areas that we want to focus in on. In addition, the town accountant will be at the meeting on January 27th. She's on the agenda to provide a quarterly update on fiscal year 2025 finances, how we compare to years past. And she and I and the treasurer and the assessor and Olivia have been meeting pretty regularly to kind of stay on the same page and see where we are. So now we just want to give that information publicly and try to continue to do that at least on a quarterly basis. As always, our joint meeting with the FAA, our budget meetings include joint sessions. They're open to the public. Residents are encouraged to attend and ask questions relevant to the town's finances and the decisions that they will be voting on. And their participation is invaluable in shaping our community's finances into the future. So these meetings are open to the public, and we encourage the public to come in and attend and ask questions during the process rather than at the time of the vote.
And again, we have,
You'll have everybody in the same room. If you have a question about a specific department, you can ask the department head, you can ask the FAA, you can ask the Board of Selectmen. Everybody's in the room during these meetings. That's why we have these meetings.
and again, we have 4 open seats currently on FAA, so again, please, if you're interested, step up. Any questions for the town administrator? Motion to accept his report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Assistant Town Administrator.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Mr. Gasky from Highway, Cemetery, Beaches, Sidewalks, Parking Lots, a partridge in a pit.
Recycling.
Recycling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, speaking of,
On Saturday, we had some equipment failure down at the recycling center. We did get it fixed today. We're going to be open on Thursday, January 2nd, from 11 to 7 for a normal, and then Saturday we'll be open as our usual. We won't be charging people extra for what they missed on Saturday because we had to close early. So, and right at this time, our credit card, Square Drive, we can't use at this time because we don't have a password for it. So if people have extra stuff, they're gonna have to bring down a check for now, unless we can get that squared away. So that's been going on for a little while. So we have no way to do credit card sales.
so, I'm just gonna ask Rich real quick, I'm just gonna stop you. Can we get this square up and running by Thursday?
Want to have this discussion now?
Oh, just a question. Okay.
Good evening.
Good
We have an issue with this. We had this up in place originally in 2020 as a way to go through and get the incidentals. We didn't want to take cash because it was too much of a liability. Not everybody had a check with them. We've gotten to the point now where I had the password hijacked, not once, but twice. And nobody's talking about anything. So until that gets resolved, I have something else we can use, or we can go back to the older system, but there needs to be some financial controls. And I'm not comfortable with what's going on down there today with everything. There should be, all transactions should be memorialized at the point of at the point of effectuation. Somebody comes down, there should be 2 lists, one for checks and money orders, the other for credit cards. And we should be able to tie that out to what's turned over physically and what's turned over electronically, and that's not happening.
So, when you say hijacked, somebody has physically hacked the, because it's not even connected to the, it was connected to the internet.
I got locked out of it again. Maybe this conversation needs to happen behind closed doors, because I'm not happy being locked out of something. That's an issue. And the idea that it's being brought up now that perhaps I'm being obstructive on something, the public trust is everything. And that's the reason we don't have cash down there. There were allegations years ago about it, and I took that to heart and did the best investigation I could get done on things like that. Let me speak well here. I would expect this at the recycling center. I would expect it in the town clerk's office. I would expect it in my office. And the idea that it's not being done is a concern.
Expect, what, the reconciliation, the way it
No,
reconciles?
no, no. There should be something memorialized at the point of the transaction, and it's not. And it needs to be done.
So all right,
Again, I've extended the offer. I'm more than happy to sit down with you, Mr. Chairman, and you and I will have a discussion and would have that thing running without issue in no time, because I think it's a matter of oversight rather than anything else. And I, again, love to sit down and make sure that everything runs right. Please.
So, I did talk to Mr. Root about that. I'm gonna try to do something next week after the holidays, hopefully, and I know it doesn't help the square right now if it's not gonna run.
We could get the square up and running today if we wanted to. It's the idea that there's some things that are just immovable. We need to go through and make sure the guidelines are being maintained, regardless of who's down there or who isn't down there running.
So do we have a policy in place, the way the square is supposed to be handled and ran?
Yes.
It does a weekly report. We can print a weekly report.
No.
As far as I know.
Excuse me. We sent out very clearly a month ago what was expected. Single sheet, paper and pencil, 1980s technology, that this was to be memorialized for the checks, this was to be memorialized for any credit card payments. So there wasn't going to be any question on to what was supposed to be done.
All right, so
So, Mr. Chairman, why don't we get a draft of a procedure?
We have one.
Okay.
We have one, and it needs to be followed. It's not acceptable. My office still has a ledger book in it. It's a single entry ledger book. It is hardbound. It is becoming hard to find because it is outdated technology, but it is my way of controlling what goes on and what goes into the computer system. Nothing's being circumvented around VADAR. I'm asking at the point of a transaction, something to be memorialized.
So you said pencil to pen, that wasn't like a, you mean physically you want check number 1124 by Steve Sullivan?
Every check that comes in, every computer transaction that goes on should have something to tie to.
So the square doesn't do that? Honestly, this is a
No.
serious question. I can't put the check number in the square.
So at the end of the day, someone goes through and pays a parking ticket. Your parking clerk goes through and memorializes something other than the check. And it goes into the VADAR system and it's brought in. What I'm looking for is a check and balance. The idea of a fistful of checks or a presumably unknown amount of transactions that took place on a credit card, the piece of paper is my balance to it. Whoever goes through and does it, whether it's a Wednesday, a Thursday this time, or a Saturday, there should be day, date, time, whatever the information is listed out there. So that, what's not to say a check doesn't blow away in the wind? What's not to say somebody does not memorialize something? I have an extra transaction or I have a transaction that's missing. I need something against what's being deposited in my bank.
So the check doesn't get recorded on the square? That Steve Sullivan paid by check? No? That's not how it works? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm looking for 4 pieces of paper. The Wednesday checks, the Wednesday computer transactions, Saturday the same thing. You show up at whatever time tomorrow, or excuse me, Thursday, and hand in a check for $10. Somebody should be writing it down, saying, this is your permit number, so on and so forth. It shouldn't be all put together in an envelope. Anytime something changes hands, it should be memorialized. Hi, I have 10 checks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as opposed to you find a check in the woods from a month ago. I need to have something that coincides with the transaction so that when it's put into Vadar and brought over, I'm double checking it. And it should be the same thing. I should be able to look up and say it's 7:20. Mr. Sullivan swiped his credit card and threw away an additional $2 bag of trash. That's my way of tracking things. It really isn't rocket science. It's the idea that we've gone through and things are being memorialized.
So you said
It was my impression that this was already going on. When I found out it wasn't, I received assurances that yes, absolutely.
absolutely.
That it would be going on, and it hasn't. I haven't gotten these turnovers back a few years. I've gotten out and out refusals from former employees to do this. There needs to be something.
So
Your town clerk memorializes wedding intentions, all of your going through reproducing birth certificates, so on and so forth, dog licenses. Everything has something else against it. You know, I need to have some check and balance. The idea that it should be done. It's a reinforcement. If I need to go down there and get a cash register set up for it or something like that, because people refuse to write things down, I went with the easiest option. The discussion was had 4, almost 5 years ago, that when the recycling center had their tires go out, it would cost us $500. And the question was asked, I believe at a selectmen's meeting, how much should it have cost us to get those tires taken away? And the whole idea was we could have memorialized that there's 100 tires, $5 for a tire. It cost us $4.95. It's a basic break even, as opposed to there's 200 tires and we only took in $100 for it and we're losing money. The board went through and voted for a half-price sticker. This would be some of the information that you'd want to know. The idea that East Coast Recycling, your tires, whatever it is, the idea that there's some data that's going in there so that you could accurately price, cover your costs for it. And that's a tangent off of the idea that there needs to be a check and a balance.
So I apologize if I received it. I don't recall receiving. Did you send that? You said you said he said something about a policy and you stopped him and said you already had sent one out.
We had sent something out. I will make sure that email gets forwarded to you. It was a request for, let's make sure we're all on the same page. It was a...
You did send me something a little while back about...
Okay.
You didn't have the policy.
Let's make a time to make sure that we're all on the same page, and it's going to be an additional piece of paper cost for what I'm looking to get done. Not trying to be obstructionist, the idea that I need to be able to look at what's going on at the recycling center and have confidence that everything's been memorialized accurately.
So, Mr. Chairman, if there's a draft policy, and Rich can send it to me tomorrow, that would be a good starting point. And then we can make sure that see if it is or isn't being followed, right? Work through it step by step. Is it being followed or is it not? Is it still in draft form? Is it, is it approved? Is it procedure? I mean, let's have a starting point, and then we'll have something to talk about. If I can't give somebody a roadmap to follow.
Is there gonna be like a breakdown on what we take in, say, mattresses? Is there gonna be something where I put in for the bills? Is it gonna say we took in 60 mattresses? I know we took in 60 mattresses. Who's gonna enter all that?
That's,
I'm
Mr.
just-
Chairman, the first version of this is to make sure that we've memorialized all the money coming in. It's sort of a moot point if it's $1 or a $2 bag of trash. The idea that we'd be memorializing a $5 tire or a $20 mattress or whatever it is, so that there should be better pricing. And when I say better, I don't mean it's wrong today, or we're going to add money to it or take money away from it. It's, there's going to be a hard number, there's going to be 52 weeks of data, pretty soon there'll be 104 weeks of data saying we're overcharging for mattresses, we should adjust it, or we're not charging enough for tires, whatever it is. But you'd have that there as opposed to not having it. Plus, it's the basic control. Again, all of the other offices are going through and memorializing that a vital record has been produced by the town clerk's office. Best example for something like that. There's no reconciliation of them being issued, but your town clerk has gone through and said, yes, vital record on this date, on 12/30, 2 copies of Rich Carmignani's birth certificate. So you know that there's $22 to be turned over in the following week, or in that week.
So the short answer, short question, will the square be running Thursday?
What are you doing tomorrow morning?
Depends how early.
So, Mr. Chairman, if this is a communication issue and it's been going on for 4 or 5 years, shouldn't we leave the public out of it and not inconvenience them to be able to throw their trash while we
Hash out.
have our internal
Like I said, I'm
discussion?
just trying to get the thing going so people that were getting inconvenienced the last couple of weeks, the guys say they can't run the crowd, people coming in, they had to turn them away.
So how does it work now, MJ? If the square's down,
If they don't have a check, they were turning them away. And
They leave and come back.
they were, and
so assume they have a check. Use Richard's example. Say we took 200 tires and
yeah, they
have
have,
some kind of record on paper.
yeah, they write a check out. Say if they bring a refrigerator in and it's, I'm not sure the price exactly, but it's $35, whatever it is. They write the check out, Town of Dudley refrigerator, $35. Sometimes if a lot of people don't carry checks, they have their debit cards, or they would just put it on a square drive, punch in refrigerator, and it would come out $35, and it would just charge them.
In that scenario, Rich, he can print at the end of the day or the end of the week. I'm honestly, I'm not familiar with the square. He can go in and go under refrigerator reporting and just click and say, oh, I took in 7 refrigerators.
No, we're looking for the sheet.
They can't print that sheet off of the square?
No. What's on the square is my balance. So at the point of transaction, somebody should be memorializing that Mr. Landry drops a refrigerator off, it's $35, his permit number is number 10.
So you want a check from Mr. in that scenario, you want a check from Mr. Landry?
A check or a credit card?
Or a credit card. So if they enter in the square, a credit card.
Right.
You want the person in the booth to have a pad that says check number 224 refrigerator?
Not in the pad, manually.
That's it, on a pad. That's what I mean. I look
Oh,
on a
I'm
pad.
sorry, because there is an iPad there, Mr. Chairman.
So you want them to enter it in the square?
Right.
And come back and handwrite it and bring a handwritten
Right.
at the end of the day or the end of the week? Every day they're open, essentially. You want it the next day, we'll just say.
So it's 4 sheets. Anecdotally, you had 3 weeks, 4 weeks during the summer where there were no transactions made. So the idea that it's a giant inconvenience is probably not as true. I'm sure right after Christmas, people are getting rid of old appliances that were bought on sale, Black Friday, whatever it is. But it's something outside of this building. There's transactions being handled, and we're not even getting a piece of paper back that says, here are the 5 checks that came in.
That doesn't show up on a run, they can't run a report, a daily transaction report that says I took in?
The transaction reports come back to my email. So what I'm looking for is, we have a $35 refrigerator and two $5 tires.
You want to see a check or a credit card transaction?
Check or a credit card transaction or an
And a
acknowledgement
patch.
that it took place.
And a pad that somebody wrote on that said.
Yep.
You ready to say something? I'm sorry.
I got a question. The Square, is this just a credit card processor that
It's a-
just money comes in?
Correct.
Or is it like when you go somewhere and you can hit an icon for large coffee, whatever? Can there be icons on there that have?
There is.
There is.
So you can hit like tire,
Yes.
Yep,
refrigerator. Does that show on a report?
Sure does.
yep.
She knows.
So you want to tie that, you want a piece of paper to tie to the Square.
Correct.
So you want a report that says 4 tires, a fridge, and a dehumidifier, and you want on a piece of paper 4 tires, a fridge, and a dehumidifier match.
What I'm looking for is the piece of paper that matches the email that shows into my inbox.
Okay, I don't know what shows in your, I'm just trying to get this.
Right.
I pay by check, just so you know, I pay by check when I bring a dehumidifier or whatever, I write a check.
Amanda, just identify yourself, so everybody knows.
Amanda Gage. I basically do all the admin stuff in Highway, and I've been dealing with the Square. So basically what Rich is getting is he's getting what Square's depositing. That's the email he's getting. So when, at the end of the day, when Square takes in so much amount for the credit cards, it tells you, sends an email to whatever email, doesn't matter who you are, and it says Square has sent you X number of dollars, simply stating what is being deposited.
That's it. No, nothing.
That is it.
It doesn't say
There
4
is
tires, a fridge.
absolutely a report that can be run and itemized. I have tried for months to comply with what he wants. The password issue has been brought up. MJ and I have gone and requested time and time and time again for a meeting, and the pushback has come back from Rich's office. I have tried to work with Danielle. We got to a point where we could work, but he not only wants that report, he wants the people at the recycling center to then, on top of that report, write down the permit number, the person's name, the amount, what they're charging for, on top of the check numbers on a separate sheet with the same information, and then it comes to me and he wants all of that entered into Vadar, printed again, and handed to him. The problem with the reports is you need a password to get into it. And then multi-factor sends a code that goes to his cell phone, and he will not give that 6-digit number over the phone. He wants the iPad in person. Only so much MJ and I can do. End of the story. MJ started in February. I started doing highway stuff in January before Jeff Murray left. Forget the last 4 years. New people doing the stuff. Not once has he come to us and asked us, can we do this? Not once has he sat down with MJ and I and said, we need this, can we change it? We've requested it, we've been ignored. End of story.
So what happens in the scenario a Saturday? Something happens with the iPad or the Square, and you lose password. So to get a new one, it goes to Rich on a Saturday at home, and you go down, Rich, and reset it, or do you? How do they operate if it goes off on a Saturday, or if you're on vacation? How does that work? Because does Danielle or
Doesn't.
James have the authority to? set it?
It comes to my cell phone. I reset the password once in maybe June because work had been done on the iPad. And it was unknown to me until they couldn't run it on whatever day, the next business day they were running it. So we got the PIN number and fixed it.
Is that something you can do remotely, or do you have to physically go down to the highway, or they have to bring it to you?
You have to do it, and it sends a code to his phone,
It's a multi-factor authentication.
multi-factor, and then you have to take that code and punch it into the iPad to make it.
Who punches it? Is my question. Does Rich have to go to the transfer station?
Yes.
Do they have to bring it to you if you're not there?
He has the code, because it goes to
The
his
code
phone.
comes to my cell phone, so however that would work.
How does it work now? If the password was
Again,
lost,
I haven't had to do anything
It doesn't.
prior to June,
so we haven't had a password reset since June?
pretty much.
Amanda?
Or
Haven't had a password?
prior to June, probably 2 years that the password sat there without issue. Wasn't until there was an update.
And so since then, there's
You
been
can't
no...
run the report without having the password.
And the report is my double check. The report illustrates, it's like my bank statement. You can't copy a bank statement and says this, and say this is your receipt. You need to have the person who's taking in the money go through and memorialize it. The report is my double check. If you print out the report and I look at the report, two people writing down the same number. There needs to be something at the point of transaction.
I think you had something to say. You got something?
No, I think I'm just, the point of memorialization, so, like, I'm just thinking about any retail, anything that, like, I've ever worked at anyway. The Square
Right.
system and your POS is what your point of memorialization is. So if Square has has the capability to print out a report for the person who's taking money in at the end of their shift to do a daily reconciliation that breaks down everything that they've put in, like, I don't understand why they can't use that to, like, balance their drawer.
But that's my double check.
But it should be theirs too, because if that's what they're putting the information into, isn't that what they're doing at the time that they're accepting additional bags of trash or tires or whatever the case is? Because obviously they can't run a credit card until they put in that there were 6 tires or 3
Correct.
additional bags of trash or whatever the case is.
So you still have a one-sided transaction there. That's why I'm looking to get something written down. You need to have a double check on something. A handful of checks was brought from the recycling center to the town hall. What's there? I don't know. There should be something at the time of.
Right, but
James
the-
goes through in my office and takes an excise bill, a water bill, and a real estate bill. There are 3 remittances that tie to the checks or cash that are brought in.
So does he write down manually that I paid cash, or you just give me the stamped copy and give it back to me? And then you go put it in
No,
Vader?
he keeps a copy, so that we go through, and I have the ability to go through and audit what he's done. There should be 25 remittances from today's operation, and it should list out checks and it should list out cash.
So, again, I don't want, it's a big rabbit hole. If there's 25 transactions listed on the Square and they only turn in 24 checks, we can't figure out who the missing check was?
Right now, I don't even get the list of checks. It's produced at the town hall,
You are the town.
at the recycling center. They're supposed to be, James started his day with $200 in his drawer. He went through and he took checks and he took cash. He should have $200 plus whatever checks and whatever cash came in. He should be able to point to those 25 transactions, whatever they are. Should be able to run a tape for both and equals 0.
So if he's missing a check, how do you tell? Does he have a separate ledger he's writing down by hand saying,
No, you'd have the remittance.
So they're saying they can't get that, they're saying that report's able to be done in that square, but they can't do it because they don't have the password.
I'm saying you don't need it.
So instead, you want it handwritten instead of generating a report.
And when you run the report, I run it against what was written down by hand, and now I at least have something to compare it to, as opposed to two people looking at the same report.
So I'm just getting this straight. Am I supposed to bring you to Square every week so you can run the report off of it?
Right, how does that report get run if they don't have the password? Or
I'm just asking, am I supposed to bring you to Square?
You don't,
on Monday?
the iPad,
How do you get the report off the iPad?
I don't get the report off the iPad. I get the email that's sent after after the end of the day's transactions.
So they can't run the report to prove what they've taken in. You want it handwritten, then you're gonna run the report and verify and double check it that way? Is that what that's what you like?
That's my plan. My plan is to go through, here it is, we had 5 credit card transactions on the upcoming Thursday. Here it is. I can look into the email that says, here are the 5 transactions, thank you. They should come through on Vadar.
So I'm just trying to get this straight. So nobody ever has to run the report off that iPad, off the Square Drive?
We haven't in the previous 4 years. Last year I pulled all 52 weeks worth of emails and inputted it myself. There was no turnover for any of it.
So I'm trying to figure out how am I supposed to get that report off of that?
So when you say no turnover, you mean no turnover from the iPad?
From the highway at all, nothing.
So what do they-
Business was transacted for 52 weeks out of fiscal '24, and no turnovers were made.
I'm just confused. I'm seriously, honestly,
Right.
just confused on the terminology. By no turnover, you mean no report from them?
No report.
But it's in the iPad.
It's in the iPad.
They can't get at it. They can't run it. If she could run it weekly, wouldn't that make it easier for you?
Where's my double check?
The report against the check that came in? Or am I missing?
I don't know, I'm just
oversimplifying?
I'm just trying to get how we get this to work, that's all.
When we draft a procedure, or find if there's a drafted procedure anywhere, and use that as a starting point to figure out how to move forward with that. But in the meantime, we need to get the thing running so that
How
there
do
aren't any
you,
problems on Thursday.
how do you get your email? What was put in? I'm just,
Yeah, who sends it from the, do you, that's a good
how do you get that email?
It's auto-generated.
So at the end of the day, when close of business, it just, at 7:01 on Wednesday, and at
Okay, that was,
3:31, it just, whatever, I'm simplifying, but it
Yes.
sends it.
Correct.
at the end of the day on a Wednesday or a Saturday, it sends it to your email?
Yep.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So, you said you have something, you're gonna send it.
I will forward what was sent out previously.
Okay, 'cause honestly, I don't know if I had gotten the original. You have any questions, Mr. Lane? Because my next question is, and this isn't a finger point. It's not a finger point. Can we meet on this? You, the folks that work full-time in the town hall, as opposed to, I mean, I definitely want to come, and I definitely want to be there, and I'm sure, like, Sarah has some input, I mean, but can you,
I'm not alone on this. There needs to be, I'm the person who gets the spotlight put on them right now. And I'll stand by that. The idea that I'm asking for additional documentation where previously there was none, I don't think that's a bad position to have.
I'm not saying.
And considering previously nothing had been done, and my attempts to get this done seem to come out in different iterations, I don't believe asking for 4 pieces of paper to be returned is a big ask.
So, again, I'm just gonna go back. Assuming we get together in the next week or so, but can you folks and again, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not saying you haven't met with them, I'm not saying they haven't asked. Can you folks get together, like Jonathan, Mr. Ruder just said, and figure out and at least get it up and running for Thursday? But also the question of,
A previous sheet had been sent to the conservation clerk and was just not effectuated. So I think I would look to you, Mr. Chairman, to join me saying, for right now, let's go through and make sure that those 4 pieces of paper, become part of the weekly routine. That's all I'm asking for. We're not doing anything other than, you want me to time it? It's gonna take 5 seconds, maybe 8.
do you save all those papers? Are you gonna save them all, or scan them, or once it's reconciled, you just get rid of them? Shred them?
They're my source documents for the Vadar turnover that would come through.
So how quickly does that happen? My point being, even if-
It would still follow the other process. The department would go through and enter what went on in Vadar and turn it over as a weekly turnover.
so the sheet that you want handwritten, what happens with that? Does it get shredded because there's information on there, or you keep them for the whole year in case you need to go back?
It's your backup.
For eternity, or just till the weekly or monthly, yearly?
At the end of a successful audit, it gets shredded.
It'll be yearly.
Probably 2 weeks, 2 years out, 3 years out, whatever it's gonna be.
Still, Henry.
Mr. Chairman, either way, no matter what's going to be done, the department head, like in other transactions, that's the source right there to verify this before we start turning all this extra paperwork into the treasurer collector's office, bogging them down even more. Just like other transaction goes to the department head. They should have access to that. They should have access to the report. They should be able to verify it and then say, okay, this is good. Now we can move it forward to the treasurer collector's office. Yes, we verified it just like other transactions, sir. Here you go. And then it's easier. They could just plug, okay, you're right. Other than, well, if there's a question, we're tying them down again, that department. So like other transactions, why would this be different? The department head gets a report, has access to that, can verify, checks and balances, then moves it forward.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I was thinking that, we'll use the clerk as an example, because we used her a couple times. How does she reconcile her cash or her checks intake and forward it to you? Does she like walk over at the end of the day and have a handwritten list saying, I took $22 from Mr. Carmignani, here's the check, and you can run a report, because does she scan stuff into Veda? Does she use Veda? I don't even know.
I get 2 turnovers from your town clerk.
Daily?
No, I get weekly checks and cash come over, and it's a separate turnover from the Unipay, where she goes through and it's built for that. So we go through, ran a report on 11/1, ends on 11/30. Here it is. It's a hard return. Everything gets printed out and things are memorialized. I would dare say she's got all of the vital records and dog licenses memorialized. There's no loose dollars that show in there. Everything the town clerk does is tracked.
See what I was getting at, though? Does she, I'm not sure I still understand. Does she write it down? Like, does she
I'm
say, "I
sure,
got a check"?
I'm sure she's got a list of all of the vital records
No, like the
that have been
check.
reproduced.
But if I pay by check, does she give you that check that says Steve Sullivan got his birth certificate? And does she give you a pad of paper saying Steve Sullivan paid by check for his birth certificate?
I'm saying she memorializes the vital records being produced.
I'm talking about payment, I'm not talking about the record. I'm talking about the check that I give her.
Right, the payment.
So does she give you a check, a report, and a handwritten note saying, Mr. Sullivan paid $10 on 11/1 at the end of, at 11:30? Is that on there? A handwritten ledger like I think you're requesting for
I
these
think the
guys.
individual checks are going through and memorialized.
But, all right, but
They're being memorialized in Vadar and turned over.
But these-
Because if we have a return check, I have the ability to go through and isolate check number 1, 2, 3, 4 and reverse it.
So the recycling center checks aren't going through Veda till they get to your office?
until they get to the town hall where they're being inputted.
By treasure collector.
No, by
I mean,
conservation.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have to start, if I don't have a policy or procedure to enforce
We'll bring
or
forward.
train to, or debate or discuss, I have no place to start. So that's gonna be the first step, is to give me a piece of paper that says, do A, B, and C. Then we bring it to the department, it actually has to do A, B, and C, and figure out if that's doable. And if it's not doable, we have a further discussion. And we modify the procedure to make it so that it doesn't hold up serving the public with, with extra steps. Or maybe it's not a big deal. The extra steps can be handled very quickly in 5 seconds or less. No problem. But if I don't have a piece of paper to start with, we have nothing to talk about. So I need that piece of paper to begin
All right.
the process. In the meantime, if it hasn't been done in 4 or 5 years, let's not shut the public off from using the credit card transaction and conducting business. We can do this for the next 3 hours tonight. I can do it for the next month. We can do it in 30 minutes tomorrow morning. But in the meantime, let's not shut the public off from using something in the same manner it's been used for 4 or 5 years, with no other place to go and no solution in front of us.
Got a solution. It sounds like a lot of person hours here to get this done, and at the end of the day, it's about trash. It's
It's
about residents throwing their
$11,000
trash
in
away.
annual revenue.
Huh?
It's $11,000 in annual revenue.
It's about yeah, that's all minutia. The end piece is, this is about residents being able to get rid of their trash.
That they pay for.
And if this isn't something we can handle for whatever reason, maybe we should look to farm this out to a professional. I hate to sound like Mr. Johnson, actually, that's not a bad thing. Maybe we shouldn't be in the trash business. Maybe we should farm it out. Maybe a vendor can do a better job than us. And now we don't have to worry about cash controls and inappropriate whatever. End of the day, it's for residents to get rid of their trash. What is the most efficient way to do that? Maybe we should look at farming it out. Just a thought. It's a solution, and then we never have to talk about it again.
But let's resolve the current situation.
I agree. I agree. I'm just looking at,
In the future, but right now, the
Yeah.
point is,
Well, I would like to just see an internal discussion. Again, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not saying this person's right, that person's right, this one over here is right. If there's not been dialogue, we're not gonna get anywhere internally by the people that are charged with doing the work.
and at the end of the day, it's about residents to be able to get out and get rid of their trash. I
Yeah.
understand we gotta do what we gotta do now is pretty much a Band-Aid to get to that point for now, but maybe we should look at that for the future. Especially with PFAS and everything, maybe we farm that out. Just plant in the seed, that's all. Plant in the seed.
So we're gonna look, let's figure this out real quick. This wasn't like a planned.
Yeah.
Rich is gonna send us his ideas of what he wants. So ABC scenario, he's saying 4 pages, so A, B, C, D. We have to send it to you, well, I can send it to the whole board if you want, but, Jonathan.
I'm happy to facilitate. I don't need to get in the middle of it.
No, I
This
know.
is, a turnover to directly to the treasurer collector's office. I don't need to, I can facilitate it. The highway falls under me. I'm happy to facilitate and work with highway department, no problem. But I need a starting point. I need a piece of paper that says I want you to
have it
do it.
tomorrow,
Okay.
or in the morning, or whenever you can send it.
My main goal is just to get it to work.
So if it's been 4 years, can we just get it up and running and?
This is my main goal. to get this thing
Excuse me,
working.
I've come here with one goal. I've asked the board for additional controls because I feel there's an issue. And I don't feel I should be getting any pushback on it. At the end of the day, the board went through and adopted a policy, and you, Mr. Chairman, went through and said that this is fluid, that the board voted favorably for something, but welcomed the input moving forward. Similarly, I believe, I would love to hear the board go through and say, yes, let's put these in place and work towards fewer pieces of paper, whatever the best solution's going to be. And I feel right now, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Siganovich has pointed to the future, the idea that we no longer run a dump, it's a recycling center, and maybe we're not the best people to do it. But for right now, you have somebody who's asking for stricter controls until we set up a satisfactory pattern. And enough things have been established to move forward.
So you did apples to oranges, Rich. The policy we voted on tonight, we've talked about at 3 meetings. We haven't talked about this one at all before.
So-
Let me finish, please. I've been letting
Go
you.
ahead, of course.
That's not fair. And again, not pointing fingers, it seems like there's a communication issue that exceeds me as a part-time elected official. I can listen to you, I can listen to MJ, I can listen to Amanda, I can listen to the fire chief, he has an issue, anybody.
Correct.
You folks are in it every day, and you have an idea, MJ might have an idea, Amanda obviously has some ideas. It shouldn't be that hard, even if we put a temporary fix on to get it going, till we get your SOP, we vet it, like we did this one, the policy you just talked about, at least 3 meetings. So it's a little apple to orange. If we had your report back in October, and we've ignored it through December, yeah, but we haven't had a chance to even debate it. You do a report every week. I mean, we just gotta get everybody on the same page and at least get it up and running, and then, like you said, we can get, if things, the password seems to be a big issue. And again, some of the scenarios, password goes down, you get a text to your phone, and I ask, can you remotely set it from your phone? I didn't get an answer. So if you can't remotely set it, that means they gotta bring it to you, or you gotta go get it.
Or I call whomever with the number.
So
It's
it can
supposed to be a 2-factor authentication. And the only time that happens is when, like in June, when some updates were done to it. So for calendar 2023, it was never touched.
All right.
So it's not a regular occurrence that would come up.
So, all right, okay, let's get this, if everybody's done with their questions. Like I said, this was not intended to be we'll get this SOP. Hopefully you folks can you said you can have it up and running tomorrow. We can have it up and running for Thursday. It's like a makeup day for the folks, and I don't want people to turn away because we can't get something up and running when we know that there's an issue. We solve the issue, get it running, get this SOP, vet it, maybe get a better handle on how this square works and what it can actually do and who can actually access to do things. And again, Kerry's point's well taken. It was, I think right before you got on the board, we asked Pratt to take it over, and they didn't want to do it. We wanted Pratt to come in and run it like they do in Webster. She didn't want to do it at the time, so maybe that is something we look at and we take it off everybody's plate. Or we do the draconian measure and we get out of the trash business altogether. But let's get this SOP, everybody take a look at it, vet it. Or let's just send it, however you want to send it out. And just accept questions from people or whatever and start moving in a positive direction. Good? Board? Rich?
Appreciate the time, thank
No, we
you.
do too. Thank you.
Department head comment, you want
Well, if he's
anything
done,
other than?
you can
Oh,
jump in. I don't know if he's done. All right, he's sitting down. All right, treasurer collector, department.
I can't get any more popular. All the tax bills came out. Obviously, there are more than one person who may have missed the November payment. So you're looking on the tax bill, and there's a past due balance. Also, if there were any timing issues, almost impossible to get a bill printed and in the mail inside of 24 hours. So if there is a lag or any issue like that, happy to go through and take those payments in advance. Also, the care of If there's ever an issue where you bought a piece of property, sold a piece of property, you don't believe you own the property anymore, and you received a tax bill, we had a couple of those. A call to the office out of courtesy. Happy to go through and make sure the current owner receives the tax bill. Obviously, if you didn't receive a tax bill in the next, I'll call it a couple of days, happy to reproduce things well ahead of the February 3rd due date. The only other bill that's coming out, if we're going to have excise bills show up maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, and those would be coming out middle of February to be paid in March. But I'll go back to one of the first items that was covered in this meeting. If on the January 13th, the Board of Selectmen are having their joint meeting with the FAA, I'd love to ring the bell. It is, I forget who had said it, this is the time to go through if there are questions or concerns about the upcoming town meeting. Love to have several dozen people here asking questions, getting information. Part of the information process helps the town meeting run better, so
Certainly does.
fingers crossed. Again, thank you. We
thank you.
had a few extra minutes tonight. I appreciate having the dialogue with the board.
No,
Thank you.
I think we all do also. Thank you. Town accountant, anything you'd like to discuss?
I have been working towards posting the cash, and I wanted everyone to know that on the website, under the accountant, you can see the cash posted through September 30th to date, and Rich and I are working to post October and November. Hopeful to get that within the next few weeks, and I'm looking forward to the January 27th first quarterly presentation.
We are too.
So we'll get everyone, take a first pass at doing a regular presentation. So,
Yeah, and I think that's gonna be helpful too, because people don't understand sometimes how, like Rich talks about cash and numbers, and you just talk about September, and
yeah.
I don't think people understand what it really means, so I think it's gonna be very informative to.
Yeah, and I believe we're pretty much on schedule. January, later January will be when Scanlon has his audit report out too. So it'll be a good point to reflect financially as we start working on the new budget too.
And again, those numbers will help when it comes time for the budget team too, because we'll have, obviously, hopefully, we'll have better revenue figures, how much we have taken in, how much we've exceeded, or no October surprise like the excise tax a couple of years ago. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Fire and EMS? Nothing? Board member comments? Mr. Landry?
None.
None. Ms. DeShanes?
I just want to wish everyone a happy new year, and just remind people to be careful on the roads. If you are imbibing and out and about, and find yourself in a position where you can't get a ride home, please call someone. Be safe. That's all. Thanks.
Yes. Mr. Siganovich?
Yeah, even better yet, stay home. It's less expensive. President Jimmy Carter passed away. Yeah. Regardless of how you feel about him as the president, should have respect for the office. But he signed in 1978 a law legalizing brewing beer at home, and that started the whole craft beer revolution thing. I can't think of many things that have spurred the economy more than that. So, yeah, and he did a lot of good things with the Habitat for Humanity. I mean, he was a nice guy. It was back when politics was a more cleaner, nicer, gentler time. But yeah, I'll miss him. Hopefully you will too. Thank you.
Thank you. So I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah season. New Year's is coming. I have my daughter, birthday's New Year's Eve. We usually go out early and home early. It's not an amateur night to be out sometimes, and I agree. I'm sure Fire Chief probably has some stories when he has to work an ambulance run. But yeah, everyone be safe, have a healthy and happy new year. Hopefully the budget season isn't as bruising as it was. And everybody just works in the same direction, pull the cart in the same direction. And you're right about President Card. I don't think anybody here maybe had the opportunity to vote for him. I know I didn't. And I think history has been more kind than in the moment with President Carter. And again, I agree with Kerry. I think politics in that era was a little more civil, a little more congenial, and a little more people first before people over party. Obviously, there was none of this, so didn't have that. But that being said, Happy New Year, everybody. Would somebody like to move us into executive session? I will ask the board's clerk to move us into executive session.
I'd like to motion to adjourn into executive session in order to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, not to reconvene into open session, SEIU 888.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call vote.
Mark Landry, aye.
Stephen Sullivan, aye.
Jana DeShane, aye.
Carrie Siganovich, aye.
Thank you, everyone.